What's up, guys? This is Joe Mattel. Today I'm going to be doing a quick experiment to see whether speaker burn-in is a real thing. You know, before I used to think that it was, and I've read some articles since that said that maybe it's not. So, you know, the truth is I don't know, so I figured I have some new speakers in, the Micca RB42s, and I've only tested them quickly just to make sure that they work, but they both work, they both sound about the same, and so I want to see if I burn in one speaker, if I'll be able to tell a difference between that and the non-burned in speaker. I'll also take some measurements before and after to see if it's something that I can see with my measurements. I'm going to do my best to try to keep it as scientific as possible. So I've labeled one as the variable, and that's the one that I'm going to burn in. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to run some pink noise through it. And I'm also going to play it all day with different types of music and see if maybe once the speakers have kind of broken in, you know, maybe something will happen to it and the measurement will be different before versus after. So we'll have to see. I'm going to run it for about a day straight and we'll go from there. So one thing to note is that burn-in might occur on other speakers, but not these. But these are what I have to test, so we're going to go for it. So they both look about the same, and the main difference just being that this one back here I've labeled with variable. So this is the one that I'm gonna try to burn in and we'll see what happens. But right now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take some measurements of this one and this one. This one, I'm just gonna go ahead and put away. I'm not gonna do anything with it. And this one, I'm gonna run some pink noise and some music through it for the next 24 hours. When I come back, I'm gonna see how this measures compared to the previous measurement, but I'm also gonna compare it with this one and see if you can see a difference in the measurements. So first up is the variable. So I have this exactly 18 inches from the measurement mic. This is the amp that I'm going to be using. It's the Micca A250 and it's rated at 50 watts per channel. Okay, so I just ran my first 3 measurements of the variable, and all the measurements are very similar, as you can see here. I'm going to go ahead and smooth it out just so you can kind of get an idea of what the speaker looks like. And I'll go ahead and measure the port next, just to see how the port responds. And then I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing for the control, the one that I'm not going to burn in. Okay, so now I'm going to measure the control and let's see how that compares to the variable. All right, so I just finished doing the measurements on both of them. And as you can see here, the two are very similar across the board. So I did 3 tests of each speaker and those show that they're very consistent. And from 2 kilohertz down, both of them match almost perfectly. So there's very little variation between the 2 speakers. We'll see what happens afterwards. I think it's important to note that most of the differences that people claim to hear are in the lower frequencies. So changes to the woofer section. And so we're going to kind of ignore what happens above 2 kilohertz because that would be more the tweeter. So we'll see what happens. Okay, so I'm running some full range pink noise through that thing at 85 decibels from 18 inches away. I'll leave that running overnight, and then during the day we'll play some music through it all day. See what happens. All right, so today is the next day, and I just got back here to the shop, and I had Lance, shout out Guidance Gamer, and he's been playing music all day, and he left the pink noise playing, so I don't know if you can hear that back there. Get these lights on. So yeah, still going. Okay, so we made sure not to move anything since yesterday. So ready to take our first measurement of the variable. As you can see here, it's still at that 85 decibel reference level that we had it at yesterday. All right, so that's better. I just turned off the pink noise. So yeah, as I was saying, we ran music all day, playing it pretty loudly. So afterwards, we just continued playing pink noise till right now. So that's about a good 24 hours of breaking in. And so right now, I don't really know what to expect as far as whether it's going to make a difference or not, but we're going to find out soon enough. All right, so from the initial measurements, I'm already seeing a slight difference, and that's not what I was expecting to see. So as you can see here, after the first measurements, there are some slight differences. Maybe half a decibel, maybe up to 1 decibel in certain places here below 300 hertz. And so that's interesting. That's not what I was expecting to see. But just in case it's something that might have moved, maybe the mic moved a little bit, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and test the one that hasn't been broken in. And let's see if that one still measures the same or if it changed also. So that's why we call it the control. Okay, so here we're looking at all the graphs. I've narrowed it down to just the averages, and I've applied variable smoothing just to keep it simple. It's good that we did a control because the initial conclusion, if I were to just look at the differences between the one that I've broken in versus, the measurement from before that, it looks like there's a difference. And, it shows here on the graph that there is. But if I go and take the control, the one that I did not burn in, it does exhibit similar changes to the frequency response. And that might just be because maybe something moved, maybe something in the background changed, something could have happened. But what we see here is the change that happened to the speaker, the measurable change that happened to the speaker, also happened to the control. So here's what I want to take a look at. If you look at the variable on the first day before break-in, you'll notice that below, let's say, 2 kilohertz, they're very similar, right? They perform very similarly. Now, if I look at the variable after it's been burned in, and I look at that, you'll notice that there are changes right here at about 65 hertz, another change here, about a half a decibel at 120 hertz, and then maybe a 1 decibel difference around 280 hertz. So that looks like something has changed, but it's important we take a look at the control and the one that we did not change, right? When we look at their two graphs, so this is the original, and when we look at the other one, we'll notice that similar changes happened here. 280 hertz, there's the difference. Around here, there's also a difference. So what we want to take a look at actually is these two. So remember how the first two, before I broke them in, they perform very, very similarly below 2K. So these, if you look at the before and after, so the gold is after burn-in, and the blue is a control on the second day. And you'll notice that below 2 kilohertz, they still perform about the same. So nothing remarkable, no big change that I noticed. And so, yeah, maybe there's a slight difference here. I mean, that's a very tiny difference there. So there you have it. Another thing to make note of is notice the difference over here on the top end around 14 kilohertz. There's a big difference, right? But on the first day, you do notice the same difference here. So maybe just differences in the two speakers. That's kind of normal where they don't measure exactly the same. And so that's what you're seeing here. Okay, so there you have it. Those are the results of the break-in test, burn-in, whatever you want to call it. And so I noticed more differences between the variable and the control speakers as far as the differences that came directly from the manufacturer. I noticed more differences there than between the pre-burn-in and the post-burn-in. So that's after 24 hours straight of playing the speaker at pretty loud volumes, playing pink noise at reference levels. Maybe it's different for different speakers, so I'm not going to say absolutely that burn-in is not real, but from these measurements, from my testing, I didn't really see a difference. So take that how you want it. I did my best to try to make sure that the variables were all accounted for. And so there you have it. Hope you found that useful. If you did, make sure to like, subscribe, ring the bell to be notified when I upload new videos. And I have a Patreon at patreon.com/JoeandTell if you're interested in extra content. Anyway, that's it for right now. Take care. Bye-bye.